Since childhood, I was basically my sister's little shadow. The very day she discovered she was actually a fake daughter swapped at birth, she texted me. She said, "Little brother, your real sister is coming home. You need to take my side. When she gets here, let us completely mess with her." When she arrived, the girl wore terribly faded clothes and looked incredibly gloomy. I was actually planning to prank her with some awful tea. Suddenly, weird floating text appeared right in front of my eyes. It read, "Here we go. The evil siblings are teaming up to bully her. The poor heroine has already suffered enough." The mysterious text continued. She finally made it home, just to get tormented by these two absolute demons. Do not worry though. Even if our heroine seems pitiful right now, she eventually becomes the most powerful person in this story. She will easily bankrupt those wicked brats, leaving them begging on the street and eating out of garbage cans. Well, I absolutely could not let that happen. I stepped forward, hugged my new sister, and sweetly told her, "Welcome home." Instantly, her dark and gloomy eyes lit up. You see, my other sister and I were completely spoiled by our parents since birth. We grew up in pure luxury, becoming the wealthy sibling duo that everyone deeply envied. Our family was incredibly wealthy. Every single year, we threw massive birthday parties at our private villa. The spotlight always shined on my older sister, Saya. She was gorgeous, got perfect grades, and played the piano beautifully. She was the flawless golden child everyone admired. Meanwhile, I was just her loyal little shadow, blindly following her every move. They threatened to throw me straight back into the orphanage, and I was so terrified that I just broke down crying. From that day on, I completely turned into a chronic people-pleaser without even realizing it. I spent every single day desperately shadowing Li Xia, constantly calling her my amazing big sister just to keep the peace. That was until the morning she ordered me to fetch breakfast for the school crush yet again. Right around the halfway mark, my sister texted me. "Hey kiddo, is the breakfast delivered yet?" I had been running forever, completely exhausted. How could I be that fast? Do you realize how far our campus cafeteria actually is? I am absolutely not doing this errand for you next time, she just laughed. You say that every single time, but when have you ever not stepped up for me? All my allowance recently went to gifts for the school crush. I owe you the delivery fee for now. Please handle tomorrow's breakfast run too. Oh, by the way, kiddo, your favorite sister is heading home. You better take my side, wait for him to get back, and we will team up to show him who is boss. Sure enough, the second I walked through the front door, I saw my mom had brought home a total stranger. A teenage girl. She was just standing there, hiding in the darkest corner of the entryway. Her black hair hung down so low, it almost completely covered her eyes. She kept her head tilted down, making it impossible to read her expression. She wore an old-school uniform, washed out and totally faded. Her face looked painfully thin, and that look in her eyes. He had this heavy gloom completely unsuited for his age, his hands rough with thick calluses. But when I finally saw his face clearly, I just froze. Li Xia is already a major standout among kids our age, but he was somehow even prettier than my own sister. He was carved from the exact same mold as Madame Li. Striking, perfectly sculpted features, brought vividly to life. A truly striking beauty. Her face seriously felt like it belonged in a whole different dimension. I never thought anyone could blend absolute destitution with such pure nobility, but there she was. Her name is Li Yanran, the biological daughter who was switched at birth, meaning the fake daughter Li Xia enjoyed a full 17 years of absolute luxury. But even with the real daughter back, Mrs. Li was still treading lightly. I watched her gently pat Li Xia's hand, whispering, "Don't be nervous. You are still the most important child in our family. You and I both know how this game works." Her attitude dictated my survival. I fully intended to keep sucking up to the fake daughter. Meanwhile, Li Yanran had suffered terribly on the streets. She barely had an inch of unscarred skin, but her eyes were wild, like a starving wolf. She didn't say a word. She just stared at Mrs. Li, making the woman squirm with pure guilt. Finally, Mrs. Li walked over and hugged her. "I am so sorry, my sweet child. You have suffered so much all these years." Li Xia watched this tearful reunion and let out a cold sneer. "Mom, you two are the real family here," she said. "Now that you are finally reunited, I should just pack up and leave." Panic washed over Mrs. Li's face as she quickly pushed Li Yanran away. She rushed over and grabbed Li Xia by the hands. "What silly talk," she cried out. "You will always be my absolute most precious daughter." Right in that blind spot where her mother could not see, Li Xia flashed a smug grin directly at the real daughter. But Li Yanran? She just stood there, cold, silent, and completely unbothered. It seemed like it hardly mattered whether Mrs. Li loved her or not. I was the only one who actually caught that brief flash of loneliness in her eyes. Mrs. Li sighed and said, "Li Yanran, do not hold this against her. She is a victim too." Right then, floating reader comments suddenly popped into my view. "Give me a break. She is the biggest winner here. How on earth is she a victim?" Li Xia stole 17 years of a wealthy, privileged life from her. Meanwhile, Li Yanran was stuck with that abusive man, working her fingers to the bone every single day and taking endless beatings. A victim like that? I would honestly love to be that kind of victim too. Li Yanran stayed completely silent. Mrs. Li clearly felt a little guilty, so she grabbed my hand and pulled me right over to her. "Be a good girl and say hello to your sister," she said. Li Xia pinched me hard and shot me a wink. My sister wanted to start bullying her. I never miss a chance to jump into the drama. I quickly got into character, looked right at Li Yanran, tilted my chin up, and sneered, "So you are my new sister?" The reader comments flooded my vision again. One wrote, "I cannot even bear to watch this." Another said, "It is absolutely insane how much the female lead has suffered all these years. She finally makes it back to her real home, only to get bullied by these two selfish monsters. But do not worry about our poor female lead right now. She eventually becomes the most powerful boss in this entire story. She easily bankrupts these two villains, leaving them totally penniless, forced to squat by the street and eat literal garbage." Going broke and eating garbage? Not happening. I spent way too long kissing up to Licia, giving her endless emotional support just to secure a wealthy life. I had to do damage control right now. I instantly switched gears, walked right up, wrapped her in a warm hug, and said in my sweetest voice, "This sister is so pretty. I really like you. My name is Li Fei, welcome home." The teenage girl completely froze. For the very first time, a totally different expression cracked her cold face. Holding her close, I could feel just how stiff and bewildered she was, along with the extremely careful way she rested her hand against my back. I just smiled. Pulling Li Yanran by the hand, I led her toward the dining room. "Sister, you are way too skinny. That will not do. Dinner is almost ready, and you need to eat a lot more." The readers were totally dumbfounded. What was happening here? Wasn't the evil sidekick supposed to bully Li Yanran? He must be cooking up some other wicked scheme, right? After all, he was Licia's loyal accomplice, and he helped bully Li Yanran plenty of times before. At the dinner table, Madame Li subconsciously ordered the nanny to place all the most delicious dishes directly in front of us. Meanwhile, Li Yanran only got the boring stir-fried vegetables that I completely hated eating. Madame Li suddenly realized how terrible that looked. She quickly used her chopsticks to drop some sweet and sour fish into Li Yanran's bowl. "Yanran, this sweet and sour fish is incredibly delicious. You need to eat more." Li Yanran just glanced at the plate and flatly replied, "I never eat fish. I am highly allergic to seafood." Madame Li froze awkwardly. After a painfully awkward second, she picked up the fish again and dropped it right into Li Xia's bowl. "Xia, you've been studying so hard lately, eat up." Li Xia flashed a purely smug smile. "Thanks, Mom. Sweet and sour fish is my absolute favorite. Let's have it tomorrow too. Oh, and Mom, make me a massive seafood feast tomorrow." She glanced over at me while I was busy burying my face in my bowl of rice, smiling sweetly. "My little brother told me today he really wants some seafood. Right, Xiaofei?" Right then, another reader comment popped up in my vision. "This supporting girl is just disgusting and so manipulative. She clearly knows the female lead is allergic to seafood. So this absolute psycho is just waiting here to stir up trouble. I honestly cannot wait to see those two go totally bankrupt and end up on the streets." Then it hit me. The male supporting character was incredibly good-looking but way too soft-hearted, which always attracts total creeps. No wonder he eventually got targeted by that massive pop star's insane toxic fanbase. Suddenly, the food sitting right in front of me completely lost its appeal. My pure survival instinct kicked into absolute overdrive. I grabbed a napkin, wiped my mouth quickly, and spoke up. "But I really want sweet and sour pork, cola chicken wings, mapo tofu, and some pine mushroom chicken stew." I shook Mrs. Li's arm, acting totally spoiled, saying, "Mom, can I please have those instead?" Mrs. Li completely fell for my little act. She playfully tapped my nose, letting out a warm laugh. "All right, I'll have the chef whip all that up tomorrow, you little glutton." Seeing me actually speak up for Li Yanran made Li Xia's face turn totally ugly. I just kept my head down, shoveling rice, pretending I saw absolutely nothing. Growing up, I was hardwired to cater to him. Pleasing him became my basic survival instinct. Honestly, saying no felt completely alien. A sudden wave of guilt hit me, making my chest tight, but I absolutely refused to take the fall for his mess this time. After dinner, Madame Li set up a bedroom for Li Yanran right next to mine. I thought we'd finally get a peaceful night. But nope, reader comments popped up again. Unbelievable. The wicked side character deliberately soaked the heroine's blankets. Just straight up twisted. It's the start of early spring, and nights are still freezing. How is she supposed to sleep? But whatever, I feel better remembering the future. Those toxic siblings will end up completely homeless, fighting beggars for a dry spot under a rainy overpass. The readers might feel vindicated, but my heart was breaking. I instantly jumped out of bed barefoot, grabbed a brand new quilt, and hurried over to tap on her door. Li Yanran opened it, eyes pausing on me. Pale moonlight spilled across her profile, sharply highlighting that bread-a-traking face. I just froze in pure awe for a second. I quickly held up the blankets and blurted, "Sister, I heard yours got soaked. Please take mine." She looked completely stunned. After a long silence, she asked in a faintly hoarse voice, "Why are you being so kind?" I flashed her a massive smile. "Because you're my big sister," I told her. "We're family." She actually flinched like the word physically burned her, muttering it under her breath. I nodded, eagerly, insisting I was super capable and would always protect her. She suddenly laughed, pointing out that she was the older sister. "I should be the one looking after my little brother, protecting you." Hearing that totally melted my heart, especially since I was always the one taking care of Li Xia back home. I rubbed my nose, asking what she liked to eat so our family chef could make it. She gave a tiny half smile, saying there was no need. The food I talked about earlier already sounded perfect to her. I beamed. I absolutely knew it. Who on earth doesn't love some good cola chicken wings? Hearing my ridiculous excitement, Li Yanran actually burst into genuine laughter for the very first time. I just stared, completely mesmerized by how gorgeous she looked smiling. But the next morning, Li Xia didn't even wait up for me before leaving for school. I knew she was mad, but I honestly felt a little betrayed. I'd been bending over backwards for her, and one tiny disagreement gets me the silent treatment. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. It was Xu Xun, our campus golden boy, saying he was craving breakfast from the art center, specifically those braised pork and pepper noodles. He said it was way too far to walk, so I needed to grab it for him. Ever since my sister started making me run errands for him, this guy got way too comfortable placing custom orders. I furiously typed out, "Buy your own damn food." But I sighed, deleted the text, and just replied normally. Alright, honestly, I really don't like Xu Xun. First day of school, our homeroom teacher made us do introductions. I had barely spoken one single sentence when he suddenly busted out laughing. "Help, you're a guy. Do you really have to fake that sweet voice? I'm getting goosebumps, this is hilarious. We're high schoolers now, why act so cute?" The whole class burst out laughing. My cheeks burned like fire. I wish the ground would just swallow me whole. I'm from the south, so my voice is naturally softer. Li Xia kicked her desk. Alright, that's enough. Stop laughing right now. Xu Xun curled his lip. Wow, so defensive. You can't even take a little joke, you're way too sensitive. Li Xia gently patted my head. Li Fei, don't take it to heart. I looked down, feeling a real sense of comfort spreading from the warmth of her palm. But wait. Li Xia, why did I eventually fall for him? Honestly, even though Li Xia constantly threatened to send me back to the orphanage when we were kids, my years of desperate people-pleasing and quiet letdowns finally shifted things. He actually started treating me incredibly well. I have low blood sugar and always forget to pack candy. Every morning, right after third period, the dizzy spells would hit me hard. Ever since then, my sister patiently kept a few candies in her pocket. Whenever I forgot mine, she would walk over, pop a peeled orange candy into my mouth, and smile. She would tease me, calling me a dummy for always forgetting. Honestly, lately I had not even been forgetting my candy at all. But I would pretend I did, just because I loved that comforting feeling of my older sister doting on me. That is, until Xu Xun started buzzing around her. He would mock her, saying, "Li Xia, do you have a brother complex? It's so embarrassing how you revolve around him. You are going to spoil him until he gets Prince syndrome." Li Xia called him annoying, but her ears turned red. After that day, she never brought me candy again. Instead of my orange sweets, her pockets were suddenly filled with the earphones Xu Xun always lost. All her patience shifted directly to him. When she tutored him, she would smirk while listening to him whine. She carefully documented all his preferences in a notebook, preparing gifts for every single holiday. She even asked me to deliver love letters and run breakfast over to Xu Xun for her. I think she completely forgot that I absolutely despised Xu Xun. But so she wouldn't hate me, I forced myself to suck up to him, pretending we were fine and trying to close the distance. Lately, though, I just can't fake it anymore. The sweetness of those orange candies faded long ago, leaving only a bitter taste in my mouth. The first cafeteria is seriously far away. I sprinted a massive distance just to buy Xu Xun his breakfast. He took it with a smug grin, saying, "So sorry to always trouble you." Li Xia just casually waved it off. "It's fine, don't worry about it. He has always loved running errands for people since we were kids. My little brother is your little brother. Just tell him if you need anything bought. I should be used to this by now." But remembering Li Yanran's words from last night made my chest tight. He told me a sister is supposed to protect and care for her brother. Maybe my sister is just built differently, right? You and I have probably both felt that sting of realizing someone isn't who you thought. Anyway, the bell rang as Li Yanran walked in. My dad put him in our class. Wearing a crisp new uniform with his bangs neatly trimmed, he revealed striking eyes. He looked way less gloomy. Honestly, just standing there, the guy was so good-looking even his hair seemed to glow. Someone like that should be wildly popular. But Li Xia had warned everyone early on not to share a desk with him. So when the teacher asked who wanted to be his seatmate, the room went dead silent. Li Yanran's eyes slowly lost their light. While the teacher stood there awkwardly, I raised my hand and offered the seat. Li Yanran froze, shooting me a trembling glance. I was honestly a bit confused myself. Wait, wasn't this stepbrother supposed to be the vicious, scheming side character? Why did he seem so genuinely well-behaved? This good boy act had to be fake. Side characters always play the victim to fool everyone, right? I told myself not to fall for his acting. Just then, a classmate leaned in and asked me, "Hey Li Fei, is he your brother too?" Li Xia scoffed loudly. "What brother? We don't even share blood." She shot me a warning glare. Li Yanran ignored her, walking straight to the empty desk beside me. He turned his head and whispered a quiet thank you. Getting a rare close-up look at his profile, I couldn't help but blurt out, "Your eyelashes are really long." It seemed like it was his first time getting such direct praise. He quickly looked away, the tips of his ears turning a faint, adorable red. My heart felt like it was gently scratched by something soft. I pressed my lips together and secretly smiled. Watching us, Li Xia felt a sudden surge of irritation. The second class ended, she dragged me over to an empty corridor. "Li Fei, what exactly did I do wrong? Why are you suddenly fighting me on everything?" She flicked my forehead. "Did you get a new brother and suddenly stop liking me?" I kept my voice low, saying I just didn't want to make enemies. She raised an eyebrow. "Coward. So what if you offend him? Would he dare bully you? You have me. I will protect you. I lowered my eyes, muttering under my breath that no, she actually couldn't protect me. But I couldn't exactly tell her about the doomed future I knew was coming, right? Besides, she never really protected me properly anyway. Licia frowned, clearly displeased. Who says I can't protect you? Right then, the school bell mercifully cut our argument short. I breathed a heavy sigh of relief. It was gym class, kicking off immediately with a brutal 800-meter run. And of course, my low blood sugar kicked in. Halfway through the track, my vision went completely black. My legs turned to jelly, and I slammed hard onto the pavement. Classmates gasped and crowded around me. My pants were torn open, blood steadily pooling from a deep scrape on my knee. I hissed, inhaling sharply. The pain kept me grounded. Licia quickly crouched down. Does it hurt? Let me help you to the nurse. Shushun glanced at my bleeding knee and scoffed. Is that really necessary? It's a tiny scratch, why make such a fuss? Licia, you are going to give him Prince syndrome at this rate. And just like that, Licia hesitated. Again, it was always like this. I finally snapped. But you make him pay out of pocket to fetch your breakfast every single day. You make him carry spare earphones because you always lose yours. You whine for gifts every holiday. And whenever you don't know an answer, you just use that high-pitched voice to beg my sister for help. Don't you have Prince syndrome yourself? Li Yanran immediately spoke up, sharply cutting me off. Li Fei, that is taking it too far. A few seconds passed. Then, sighing heavily, Li Yanran walked over and offered his hand to help me up. He doesn't mean any harm. Don't take it to heart, my sister said. I violently slapped her hand away. Why is it that no matter what he says, you never see the malice in it? But the second I talk back, I am the villain. Why do you always take his side? You're supposed to be my sister. You are so biased. I fought desperately to hold back my tears, my eyes burning with the effort, but they spilled over anyway. I rarely ever showed her my raw emotions like this. Licia totally froze. Panic flashed in her eyes as she frantically reached out, trying to wipe my wet cheeks. Su Shun stood entirely unfazed, his jaw dropping in fake shock. Seriously? You are crying just because one little thing didn't go your way? How can a guy be this fragile? I haven't cried since I was a toddler. I desperately wanted to shoot back an insult, but I quickly realized that when you're sobbing, your voice just abandons you. Right then, Li Yanran pushed through the crowd. Without a single wasted word, he pulled me up and gently murmured, "Bear with it for a second. I am taking you to the nurse." As he leaned in close, I caught the crisp, clean scent of mint on him. Let's pause and look at this together. Licia just squatted there, wide-eyed. We hadn't even taken 3 steps when Shushin burst out laughing. God, you guys aren't even related. Taking care of him like that. What if he falls in love with you? Li Yanran shot him an absolute death glare. Is it any of your business? Has no one ever told you that if you have nothing useful to say, you can just shut up? Shushun's smug face instantly dropped. That was the exact moment I realized Li Yanran actually had a vicious temper. He snapped back like a wolf. No wonder he is destined to ruin our family and leave us homeless. I just hadn't noticed it before, probably because whenever he spoke to me, his voice subconsciously softened. It hit me suddenly, so this is what being favored actually feels like. Li Yanran practically carried me to the clinic. When the nurse applied iodine, I hissed in pain. Without hesitating, he grabbed my hand tight. "Squeeze my hand if it hurts," he said. I looked up at him, feeling pathetic. "Li Yanran, do you think I'm a massive burden?" He let out a soft laugh. "Not even a little bit. Honestly, I kind of wish you would bother me more. I could only manage a quiet thank you." For the next few days, I completely iced Licia out. At dinner, she tried putting food in my bowl. I refused to touch it. When she knocked on my bedroom door, I wouldn't open it. Finally, while I was curled up on the couch watching a movie, she squatted down with my old rabbit plushie, doing that squeaky voice. Xiaofei, please don't be mad anymore, okay?" I stared blankly and snatched the toy away. "Sis, how old do you think I am? You are still using a stuffed animal to coax me?" Licia grinned in relief. "So you aren't mad. You are still just as easy to win over as when we were kids." I opened my mouth, unable to hold it in. "Can you please just stop liking him?" Licia gave me a helpless look. Shu Shun really doesn't mean it. He just speaks before he thinks sometimes. Don't take him so seriously. She was still defending him. I couldn't listen to another word of it. I grabbed the rabbit plushie and hurled it straight at her. She winced, rubbing her arm as her brow furrowed. "Why is your temper so awful lately?" But seeing my eyes well up again, she paused, letting out a long sigh. "All right, fine. I will talk to him tomorrow and tell him to stop. Is that enough for you? Can we please make up? Stop ignoring me, okay?" Watching her try so desperately to appease me, I sniffled, feeling that familiar hot sting behind my eyes. At the end of the day, she was still the sister who had been by my side for 18 years. I couldn't just cut her off. I bit my lip. "Then tomorrow, bring me my orange candy." Licia chuckled warmly. "All right, you little glutton, I will bring it." For the next little while, she remembered to bring me a piece of candy every single day. It felt like we had time traveled back to the good old days. She stopped asking me to run breakfast over to Shu Shun, but she just started doing it herself. It seemed she felt incredibly guilty toward him too. Over the weekend, Shushin posted a flashy photo online showing off the gift my sister bought him, a luxury watch worth tens of thousands. The caption read, "Fine, since you went all out, I'll be generous and forgive a certain someone." I stared at that post for ages. Was that certain someone supposed to be me? Did Licia actually apologize on my behalf? What did she even tell him? That her little brother was just being immature and caused him trouble, so she was making up for it. An invisible fist squeezed my chest so tight, I felt like I couldn't breathe. When she coaxed me, all she did was squat down with an old ratty rabbit toy and offer a few soft words, treating me like a clueless toddler. But for Shushin, she had to compensate him with a wildly expensive luxury watch. She used such an elaborate, formal gesture just to buy a single word of forgiveness. So in her heart, my grievances were genuinely that worthless. All her past kindness and indulgence toward me were nothing but a light breeze compared to him. Why? I was her actual brother. The very next day, during the break between classes, I walked down the corridor and caught Li Xia nagging Shushun to study. He tossed his pen and leaned in close. Sis, what if I don't want to study? Li Xia playfully flicked his forehead. If you don't study, how are we going to the same college? I watched the whole sickening scene unfold. I realized Li Xia was truly invested this time. You only weave someone into your future plans when you deeply care about them. I was incredibly disappointed, and a huge part of me was bitter, but mostly, I just felt exhausted. I know giving up on someone you love is hard. But she was like a wet winter coat, freezing to wear, freezing to take off. I made a silent vow right there. She promised she would buy me that model kit I always wanted for my birthday. If she remembered, I would forgive her. But if she forgot, no matter how much it broke my heart, I absolutely refused to compromise my own dignity for her anymore. You and I have probably both made these silent bets before. I told myself this was the final gamble. If I lost, I was done caring about my sister. On my actual birthday, all my friends showed up. Only Li Xia was missing. Refusing to start without her, I kept delaying the cake cutting. The bright smiles on my friends' faces slowly turned into looks of careful pity. Halfway through the party, I couldn't take it anymore. I hid in the corner of the balcony and called her. It rang out. Refusing to give up, I dialed again and again. After what felt like an eternity, the line finally connected. But Shushun's voice came through. What? I froze completely. Why did he have her phone? Sounding wildly annoyed, he scoffed. Yeah, I have it. What do you want? While my brain short-circuited for a few seconds, I heard Li Xia take the phone from him. Her voice was incredibly soft. Hey, baby, what's wrong? I opened my mouth to speak, but Shushun loudly interrupted in the background. This is your fault. I told you not to bother, but you insisted on celebrating with me. Better hurry up and explain to your little brother. And just like that, her attention was instantly pulled right back to him, her tone shifting. Xiaobao, I can't even hide my excitement. My sister's voice buzzed. Shushun did amazing on his second mock exam. He's only a little behind me. We're celebrating right now. In the background, Shushun chuckled casually. It was just a lucky break. I'll definitely beat you next time, he said. His arrogant tone made Li Xia laugh out loud. All right, then I'm not tutoring you anymore. Fine by me. Even without your help, I won't lose. Okay, we'll see about that. Over the phone, they kept playfully bickering like nobody else existed, completely forgetting I was still on the line. After what felt like forever, Li Xia finally remembered me. Oh right, Xiaofei, why did you call? I bit my lip hard. Sis, did you seriously forget? Today is my birth. Before I could even finish, Shushun interrupted again. Li Xia, what do I do? I have no idea how to solve this. She instantly ignored me, grabbing his textbook with a giggle. Look how clueless you are. Listening to them flirt and joke around in that exact moment, I suddenly felt like this was all so pointless. Utterly exhausting. The balcony wind was biting cold, but it totally sobered me up. Why? Why was I constantly chasing after her approval? Why should I tie all my happiness and sadness to someone who always puts my feelings dead last? Once that clicked, my heavy disappointment and frustration completely vanished. Any lingering attachment I had seemed to be wiped out entirely by the cold wind. Forget it. I don't care about this sister anymore, and I'm never going to beg for her attention again. I hung up the phone and marched back to my party. The birthday candles were still burning bright. I took a deep breath, flashing a confident smile at my friends' worried faces. We're not waiting. Let's do this. I closed my eyes. My 18th birthday wish is that I, Li Fei, will absolutely live a brilliantly happy life. After wishing, I slowly opened my eyes. Li Yanran was standing right in front of me, holding a beautifully wrapped gift box. She smiled and handed it over, her gaze incredibly soft. This is for you. I opened it. It was exactly the model I had been obsessing over in the store window forever. I just froze, staring up at her in shock. How did you know? You take a detour to stand outside that shop every single day. I noticed you a few times. Li Yanran gave a warm smile. The moonlight caught her eyes, gentle and deep as a hidden ocean. I figured you probably loved it. Right then it felt like something softly struck my heart, flooding me with warmth. It turns out someone actually noticed my quiet interests. Someone actually cared about my wishes. I desperately wanted to give her something back. I pulled her into a tight hug. Thank you, Yanran. She stiffened for a second, then gently placed her hand on the back of my head, handling me carefully like a fragile treasure. I looked at her. Yanran, my grades are actually really solid. Way better than Li Xia's. I'm actually ranked first all year round. You just moved in, so if you're struggling with studying, I can tutor you. Honestly, academics are the only thing I'm truly good at. She laughed softly and ruffled my hair, her dark eyes hiding an emotion I couldn't quite read. Okay. When Li Xia finally got home and saw the leftover party decorations, she suddenly realized what day it actually was. All the color drained from her face. Looking incredibly guilty, she muttered, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot your present. Can I make it up to you later? You just blew your cash on a celebration gift for Shushun. I shook my head calmly. It's fine. I don't want anything anymore. Li Xia was visibly stunned. She probably expected me to blow up and throw a massive tantrum like I used to, but I didn't. My face showed zero emotion, perfectly calm, as if I were discussing a total stranger. Li Xia quickly softened her stance, slipping into her usual coaxing baby voice. Then how about I buy you a cute little teddy bear, just to make it up to you, please? I stared right at her, speaking word by word. I said, I don't want a single thing from you ever again. Sensing my shift in attitude, she frowned. Li Fei, what is wrong with you today? I didn't bother answering. I just turned and walked to my bedroom alone. It felt amazing. A wave of pure relief washed over me. This sister who constantly put me second to Shushun, this sister I spent years desperately chasing, I finally didn't need her anymore. All that pent-up hope, the bitter unfairness, the silent resentment, it all found an exit in that split second, vanishing into thin air. From that exact day forward, I took every single ounce of love I used to give her and poured it straight into Li Yanran. I'd serve her favorite foods and follow her around like a puppy, calling her sister so sweetly it made me cringe. But Yanran never found it annoying. She just always responded with a gentle smile. She had a naturally icy vibe. When others talked to her, she'd just give a vague nod. But whenever she looked at me, her eyes shined brighter than stars. When Li Xia occasionally caught us bonding, a complicated shadow would cross her face. She tried to join in, but I smoothly iced her out. Even when she was acting sickeningly sweet with Shushun, I didn't even blink. Their toxic drama had nothing to do with me anymore. I only cared about people who actually valued my kindness. The day the high school mock exam rankings dropped, I fought through the massive crowd. I instantly spotted the #1 spot. It wasn't me, and it definitely wasn't Li Xia. It was Li Yanran. Bold black ink on a bright red board, it was blindingly glorious. I felt like a proud reader. Our female lead was a literal genius with a photographic memory. She'd memorized every textbook in print. Even though her abusive father had refused to buy her any study materials, she only had to skim the practice questions at the bookstore to know every answer. She was absolutely destined to be the top college exam scorer. Because of this massive win, our dad totally flipped his attitude and heavily invested in her future. I had no idea Yanran was such an academic weapon. I'm definitely paying her back. Boss Li Yanran. Actually, no, sister. I'm rolling with you from now on. I'm definitely clinging to a powerhouse like you. Li Yanran smiled warmly. All right, stick with me, and I've got your back. She absolutely kept her word. From that exact day forward, she helped me fix my academic blind spots. She even targeted my specific weaknesses. She designed custom practice tests just for me, creating highly targeted training sessions. My grades were already pretty solid, but with her constant help, they absolutely skyrocketed. The night before our final college entrance exams, Li Yanran looked at me and asked, "What university do you want to attend?" I looked right back, "The absolute best one." She smiled softly. I felt the exact same way. We could actually stay together for college. When the final exam scores finally dropped, Li Yanran and I both crushed it. Li Xia managed a decent tier, though it was way below her usual standard, and Shushun completely choked, barely scraping past the absolute minimum cutoff line. He crunched the numbers, but his score simply wasn't high enough for his dream schools. Word was he threw massive tantrums at home. On application day, Shushun showed up at my place to apply alongside Li Xia. Shockingly, she asked for my opinion first. I just smiled. Fine by me. Is he the guy you really like? For some reason, Li Xia's expression completely soured. Shushun slid right next to her, getting uncomfortably close, and whispered softly, "Li Xia, let's apply to the exact same city, alright? I checked online, and there are a few schools that are quite close." Right as those words left his mouth, my phone and Li Yanran's phone started ringing at the exact same time. It was the Tsinghua admissions office. The caller sounded incredibly polite and warm. "Hello there. Your test score might have hit our acceptance threshold, though it isn't completely official yet. Would you consider signing a contract with us? We can actually offer you early admission." Li Yanran and I locked eyes, both of us instantly spotting the huge smiles on each other's faces. He raised a knowing eyebrow at me. I understood completely and cheerfully replied to the recruiter, "Thank you, but I really want to. Just wait until you hear what Peking University said." Suchen's smile completely froze. He could barely hide the burning jealousy in his eyes, but he still forced a fake look of concern. "Li Fei, you really don't have to push yourself so hard. Just apply to the same college as Li Xia. You could keep looking out for her." I just smirked. "No thanks, you take care of her." Besides, I dragged out my words, deliberately leaning a little closer to Li Yanran. "I actually have more than one older sister." Li Yanran just nodded. She reached over and playfully ruffled my hair. "Exactly right. I'll be the one taking good care of Li Fei." She shot her a frustrated glare. "What kind of sister are you anyway? I've been by his side for 18 years. How long have you been around?" Li Yanran fired right back. "Well, did you ever actually protect him? At least I'd never be the reason Li Fei hurts. Unlike you, Xia." She choked up, suddenly completely unable to force out a single word. Meanwhile, Shuchun purposely applied to a university way down south. It was incredibly far from the college I was heading to, literally thousands of kilometers apart. He fully knew Li Xia would tag along with him. He even made a social media post just to show off, heading to a southern campus with the one I love. Honestly, I couldn't care less about studying anymore. My entire focus was planning the ultimate graduation getaway with Li Yanran. But right at the final second, Li Xia totally flipped her college choices. Instead of following Xushin down south like everyone expected, she unexpectedly switched her destination to my exact city. And I had absolutely no clue what the hell she was thinking. Anyway, once college started, Li Yanran kicked off a side hustle startup between classes. She was naturally gifted, and her business quickly took off. I joked around, smiling as I asked her if she would bankrupt me once she became a massive success. Leave me totally penniless, squatting on the curb, digging through the trash for food? That was the very first time she actually got mad at me. She reached over and pinched my cheek, not too hard but firmly. She asked what kind of nonsense I was talking about, and dared me to say it again. She said she would throw anyone who treated me like that straight to the dogs. She told me to stop filling my head with such ridiculous thoughts, promising that as long as my sister was around, I would never suffer a single day. To my absolute surprise, she wasn't upset because I pictured her as some ruthless villain. She was genuinely furious simply because I imagined myself ending up so incredibly miserable. She just couldn't stand the thought of me hurting even a little bit. I remember thinking to myself, my sister really is amazing. Because Li Yanran was doing so exceptionally well, our father started valuing her heavily, pouring all his resources directly into her hands. Naturally, he slowly began giving Li Xia the cold shoulder. She finally tasted real rejection, almost like she was finally empathizing with the old me, the one who tried so desperately to please her. But now, even I was completely icing her out, focusing all my energy entirely on Li Yanran. She clearly hated being ignored. It felt completely alien to her. Since she lived nearby now, Li Xia started visiting my campus constantly, bringing random snacks and gifts. She would eagerly ask how I had been doing lately. Every single time, I would just give her a freezing cold reaction, grab the stuff, mumble a quick thank you, and refuse to say another word. The crushing disappointment in her eyes grew more obvious every visit, yet she kept showing up. Honestly, I didn't have the mental energy to care, because I was starting to realize my feelings for Li Yanran were completely shifting into something else. She was becoming incredibly successful, and even more breathtakingly beautiful. Plus, she would endlessly wire her startup profits straight into my bank account, giving me way more cash than I could ever spend. It is so true what they say. You really shouldn't meet someone this perfectly amazing when you are young. She was on my mind every single day, and I desperately wanted to confess. Just one day before I planned to do it, a classmate handed me a love letter. For some weird reason, I didn't toss it in the trash. I just wanted to read it, maybe use their romantic lines for a little inspiration. Right as I was peeling the envelope open, Li Yanran practically materialized behind my shoulder. Before I could react, she snatched the letter and shoved it into her pocket. She stated that dating in college was forbidden. Her tone was deadly serious, but it didn't feel like a lecture. Instead, she seemed to be hiding a completely different emotion. I looked up into her eyes, feeling a surge of reckless courage. I told her fine, I won't date anyone else. I reached out, gently tugging her shirt, softening my voice. Then you have to promise me one thing. My heart was pounding violently. Since we aren't actually related by blood, you are totally allowed to can you give it back? Just for a single second. I completely regretted it the moment those words left my mouth. It was way too direct. He was always so serious and grounded. He would absolutely think I was just fooling around. I lowered my head, totally bracing myself for his rejection. But the scolding I expected never came. The next second, Li Yanran. She gently tapped my head. The movement was incredibly light, but it made me completely freeze up in that exact moment. When she finally pulled her hand away, her eyes were melting into this wonderfully soft, warm smile. She looked at me and said, "You silly little fool, it is only natural for an older sister to protect her younger brother." I honestly never imagined that being truly deeply cared for could feel this incredibly happy. Even on those completely random, unremarkable days where nothing special was happening, Li Yanran would always go out of her way to prepare little surprises for me. Sometimes it was that limited edition poster I had been rambling about for weeks, or maybe just a steaming hot cup of milk tea waiting for me. No matter how crazy her schedule got, she would reply to my texts in literal seconds. Every single time I reached out, she was always there with an immediate answer. But somehow, Mo Shihui was slowly starting to accept this massive shift in the storyline. Oh man, this scene is just absolutely beautiful. I really think this has to be the best possible ending for everyone. The supposed villainess is no longer wasting her life, rotting away in toxic hatred. Instead, she actually found someone real that she genuinely wants to protect with all her heart. She was finally starting to step out of the dark mud, slowly learning how to become a genuinely gentle and caring older sister. The comments on the screen were still rolling by constantly, but those sharp, hateful criticisms were completely gone now. The entire screen was absolutely flooded with warm, heartfelt blessings. Later on, I rented a really spacious house just off campus. Because she was so worried I would not eat properly on my own, she started coming over all the time just to cook for me and manage my daily routines. When Li Xia showed up again carrying another batch of gifts to visit me, she completely by chance caught sight of me standing right next to the artificial lake. I was casually chatting and laughing alongside Li Yanran. Seeing us together, Li Xia totally froze in her tracks. The bags of snacks and fresh fruits she was holding slipped right through her fingers, crashing onto the pavement and rolling absolutely everywhere. The very next day, she tracked me down privately and cut straight to the chase. Li Fei, you need to realize Li Yanran is not a good person. Just listen to me. The very first time I laid eyes on her, I knew she was nowhere near as innocent as she pretends to be. Her entire mind is filled with nothing but cold, ruthless calculations, and you need to know the truth. Did you know she secretly gathered a massive pile of evidence against her adoptive father? She documented all his illegal gambling, his massive debts to loan sharks, and even his embezzlement of construction material funds. She took every single piece of it straight to the police and personally locked her own father away in a prison cell. Seriously. Just take a second and think about this. A person who is cold enough to strike her own father, how incredibly dark and twisted must her mind actually be? I finally cut her off, my voice perfectly flat and completely empty of any emotion. I just asked, as the so-called adult here, have you ever genuinely cared about or looked after me? Her brow pulled into a deep, frustrated frown. Her tone suddenly dropped, sounding a lot softer but laced with this desperate defensive urgency. Of course I care about you. I just stared right back at her, my vision completely clear and focused. You know exactly how much I despise Xu Xin, right? So why on earth would you force me to deliver breakfast to him? Has it simply been way too long, and you somehow magically forgot that I hate him? Or did you intentionally choose to forget? Or maybe, just maybe, you honestly believe that my feelings do not matter at all. Because no matter what you decide to do, you assume I will never actually get angry. The bitter truth is, you are only ever doing things to make yourself feel like a hero. Stop trying to force this fake, benevolent persona. It really does not suit you. My gaze dropped, turning ice cold. Li Xia, you only ever focus on her so-called calculations. Why have you never bothered to look at the pure hell she suffered through? Completely despised and relentlessly bullied by her own family. If she did not fight back, was she supposed to just lay down and be treated like trash for her entire life? All the color instantly drained from her face, leaving her completely pale. Her lips trembled, as if she desperately wanted to argue back, but she could not push out a single word. I just turned my back, completely ignoring her, and basically sprinted all the way back to my house. Throwing the front door wide open, Li Yanran looked up as soon as I walked in. Her eyes brightened, and she offered this beautiful welcoming smile. Well, look at you, managing to get back right at dinner time. You are definitely improving. Right then, my chest violently tightened, flooded with this heavy, suffocating wave of pure heartbreak. It suddenly hit me. Behind that effortless, breezy calm she always showed the world, she was actually hiding all of this. An ocean of unspoken trauma and intense suffering I had never even noticed before. God, I desperately wished I could rewind time itself. I wanted to rush back and shield that battered, deeply scarred young girl shivering alone in the dark corner. I just wanted to promise her that everything gets better, and that someone will finally cherish and fiercely protect her like real family. Startled by my sudden, desperate bear hug, she completely froze for a second, then softly laughed out loud. She gently reached up and started warmly patting my back. Hey, what is going on with you? Why on earth are you suddenly crying like this? I buried my face into her shoulder, my voice all thick and muffled. It is nothing, honestly. I just suddenly remembered something really happy. She playfully pinched my cheek and sighed. Stop being dramatic. Go wash your hands right now. I just finished cooking up your absolute favorite cola chicken wings. I immediately snapped my head up, my eyes absolutely glowing like bright little stars. Long live the chicken wings, I cheered loudly. The beautiful golden sunlight spilled perfectly across our silhouettes, feeling incredibly warm, brilliantly bright, and completely healing.